Hello guys, and welcome back to Watch Addiction Watch Reviews. Today we're taking a look at Stowa. Now I reviewed a couple of their pieces in the past. You may see on the screen right now, this is the Stowa Classic Marine 40, a very historical piece, and a piece that I really wanted to get in for review. Now this is a new addition to my collection, and I will be reviewing it today. So we're going to take a look at this classic and traditional piece, which is produced by German watchmaker Stowa. They've been around for a long time. They come from the Black Forest region in Germany. Most famous for their Flieger watches, I'd say. I have reviewed their Flieger 40 and their Flieger 43mm. You can check back for those reviews. Now this watch is based off the original marine observation watches, which were actually utilized during dating back to 1939, around the time Stowa opened its first factory. Now there were 239 custom-built observation watches in total, which are actually built inside wooden boxes for waterproofness and shock resistance and protection. Now these watches had to be extremely legible, accurate, and are actually painted with luminous paint, which is not used today. Now, I will throw a photo on the screen. You can actually see the photo of the original Stowa movement, which is actually used. It's a manually wound movement, a very nice looking movement. And you can see that photo on the screen right now. And yeah, it's just a beautifully handcrafted masterpiece. Now, this watch does come in a couple different variations. It comes in a 36, it comes in a 40, and it also does come with many customizable options, as most of you guys probably already know with Stowa. You can get custom rotors, different movements, manually wound, top-end ETA, standard ETA. You can even get your name engraved on the rotor, on the buckle, and cool stuff like that, all different types of straps. So there's a lot of options. I will leave a link down in the description below. But now let's get into it. Before getting into the full review, I'm going to throw up a couple photos of the new packaging. So usually it comes in just the standard box, but I will throw up a picture of the new cardboard box it came in, which I thought was pretty cool. And then it comes in the standard kind of metal clamp down box, which is actually very protective. It really protects the watch during shipment from Germany. This one arrived in 2 days via FedEx, so no issues there. Now let's get into the watch. Now here's the Stowa Marine Classic 40 right in front of your eyes. As you can see, it's an extremely legible watch. It's housed in a solid 316L stainless steel polished case all around with a very nice set of dimensions. As you can see, the crown is rather mid-sized, I should say. I wouldn't call it large, but it's very grippable. Now it's a very legible orientation, which really dates back to the original watches that I was talking about, or the observation clocks, which had to be extremely legible. Now the dial itself may appear enamel, but it's actually not actually enamel. It's just a really nice painted white, but it definitely looks very luxurious. Now off to some basic dimensions. The case itself is 40mm, which I think is the perfect size for my wrist. My wrist is 6.5 inches, and this case just sits perfectly across. Now we have a lug-to-lug distance of about 48.6mm, which is really nice for a 40mm case. And we do get 20mm lugs here, and in terms of the actual case thickness on this watch, we are looking at about 10.3mm, so it's like really, really thin. Even though it houses a Swiss-made automatic edit 2824, it's really thin, and I really appreciate that. It really sits nice on the wrist. As you can see, it kind of curves down here from the lugs and just plants perfectly on the wrist there. The dial is fairly simple on this watch. As you can see, we get nice long heat-treated blued hands. You can really see that blue right now when the light hits it. And this is a lengthy process, if you didn't know, I should say, to get these hands a true blue. And it's really nice. The second hand, as you can see, reaches all the way out to that railroad track near the end of this white dial. Stowa is printed very discreetly below the 12 o'clock position to stay out of the way when you want to get a quick glimpse at the time and tell the time quickly. Now the crown is pull and push. We get 5 ATMs or 50 meters of water resistance, so definitely not a watch to take in the water, but one to stay on the ship with. But obviously if you get it wet with washing your hands or something like that, you shouldn't have an issue there, or if you happen to get caught in the rain, there really should be no issue. Now getting to the finishing on this case, it is very good and very fine. It's very high polished, this case though, but the finishing is top notch and something you would see on a luxury watch. And I'm just really always impressed with the finishing, from the Fliegers down to this Marine, even to the Antea 365, which I reviewed. The finishing is really sharp and it's done right. We do get a smooth polished bezel as well going all around, which is just really, really, really nice, and their quality is always there. I've never seen a quality control issue with any of the watches I've purchased from Stowa at all. That's always a good thing. They always keep great time. They're not chronometer certified, or at least this watch isn't, but it does keep great time. Now, getting to the movement itself, well, there's a few choices. This one happened to choose the standard ETA 2824, which does come with blue screws. And it is keeping great time, so I assume they do some regulation in the factory when they put this movement in there. Now, the crystal itself on both sides is a genuine sapphire crystal. Let me just undo the strap here. So you get a genuine sapphire crystal with anti-reflective coating on the underside. On the front of the watch, we get a sapphire crystal through the exhibition case back, which I'll show you in a minute when we talk about the movement. But other than that, I just want to get you a nice, good look around at this watch. It's just a really well put together watch and something you would expect for the price point. Now, getting to the price, we're looking about 690 euros, which is really not that expensive. That's including VAT, and delivery time takes up to 2 to 3 weeks because they actually do build these watches to order. They build them themselves in their factory. They do have some photos of their factory on their website if you want to look at all that cool stuff after this video. But yeah, you can definitely do some cool stuff with these watches. For example, if you wanted to upgrade to a top finish ETA 2824, which in my opinion looks a bit fancier, has more blued screws, some other finishing, and that's an extra 130 euros. Or you can upgrade to a hand winding ETA 2804-2 for 150 euros more. Or you can upgrade to a date version. I happen to like the clean symmetry of the non-date version, just as my Submariner, which features a non-date. Everything is just really perfectly symmetrical, as you can see on this beautiful white dial. And yeah, so the movement inside this one is the standard ETA 2824. It features hand winding, it features hacking, 25 joules, about 38 hours of power reserve, and it beats at 4 Hz or 28,800 beats per hour. It's used commonly in the Swiss watch industry through a lot, and also with a lot of different brands as well. Most of you guys are definitely familiar with this movement. If we look at the case back, we do get a nice glimpse of this custom Stowa rotor as well, signed in a gold tone, which is really nice. You can see the balance wheel going up over there if you look at 2 o'clock right now. Now, the case back is polished, just as the front of the watch. It's held down by real screws, which is true to German tradition, and it always looks a bit fancier in my opinion when the Germans do this. So yeah, we get a nice glimpse of the ETA 2824 movement. You can see that nice rotor there. Everything is highly polished on the case back, just as the front, which I do appreciate. I think it looks good together. And yeah, that's pretty much it. The movement itself, if you don't know how to function, it's very simple. This is a pull and push crown. We have nice grip on this crown here. It's knurled very nicely. We can hand wind the watch if you want to give it some juice in the beginning. And then your first position when you pull out is going to be your hacking position, because there's no date wheel in this movement, which is very nice of them to do. And then we can precisely set the time here. If you look at those nice long hands, you can really precisely set the time. Very easy to do with this dial configuration. Push that back in and you're good to go. Very simple, no issues there. Now, we have a nice genuine leather strap here, which is always of good quality from Stowa. As you can see on the back side of the strap, it does say since 1927, and you do get the Stowa embossing right here on the actual band, which is pretty cool. So we have a kind of off-white tone leather, and we have a blackish leather here on the front side of the strap with stitching going up and down, which is pretty neat. There are no mistakes there. Heading over to the buckle, we get a Stowa signed polished buckle to match the case finish. And it works fine. It's not a huge buckle, which I do appreciate. It definitely matches the size of the watch, which some brands can't seem to figure out. If you've seen some of my other videos, I always have a gripe about that, but no issues there. Now, this watch obviously doesn't have lume. It's not a dive watch. This is a deck watch, I'd call it, or something, you know, when you're standing, if you're the captain on the boat, or just well, nowadays, obviously, it's going to be a little bit different. You know, this is just a casual / dress watch, in my opinion. You can definitely wear it casually, and you can definitely dress it up with a suit. Those nice blue hands really do sparkle, and it definitely does look good with a suit, a shirt and tie, or even just casually, you know, with a dress shirt and some shorts. If it happens to be hot out, I think you'll be good to go with this piece. Now, I have a 6.5-inch wrist. Like I said, we have a 40mm case here. Let me see how it looks on my wrist. I'll get right into that. There she sits on my 6.5-inch wrist, and straight out of the box, the strap, you know, conforms to your wrist. You don't have to actually break it in, which I do appreciate. And it sits perfectly across my wrist, if you can really see that. And it's 40mm in diameter, very thin at 10.3. Look at that. it sits perfectly on the wrist. It can definitely slide under a cuff if you wanted it to. So I would not worry about that if you happen to be wearing a shirt. But nonetheless, it's very comfortable. You do feel it on the wrist, but it's kind of easy to forget sometimes considering it's so thin. But it's definitely very comfortable. As you can see, you look at your watch, you're gonna know the time. It's very, very, very legible. At a distance, it looks a little better even too. Very shiny with that nice high polish, a bit blingy, I should say. You definitely will get some looks with this watch if you happen to be out in the sun. But yeah, it fits comfortable on the wrist. I have no issues there, and I like how it fits. So in conclusion, guys, the Stowa Marine Classic is definitely a watch I never really thought about until one day when I was looking around. I happened to see it on their website. You know, most people think of Stowa for fleegers and fleegers only, but they have a whole different array of watches. They even have dive watches as well, which is pretty cool. And Stowa always stays true to tradition. They don't really kind of go out and make something out of the norm. They always stay true to tradition, which I really do appreciate. Most brands kind of, deter away from that in a way with, kind of odd models that they'll randomly pop up with. But Stowa doesn't do that, and they pretty much always stay true to their tradition, and they value that. So it's always a good thing to have a brand like that around. This brand will definitely be around for many more years. I think the watch is well made, and their watches are always well made. The finishing is always A1. The cases are very nice. These straps are always very nice. They use great movements, and I don't see a problem at all with this watch. I mean, it fits great. It feels right. It feels right at home on my wrist. It's really legible. It's something that you can wear every day if you wanted it to, or you can even use it for special events if you wanted it to. So definitely a very versatile piece. I do appreciate that. I want to let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. As usual, I will answer you there. Also, you can find a link to Stowa down in the description below if you want to check out their watches, and also read about some of the history of the brand. I read a lot about the history of Stowa in one of their books that they sent me, which I thought was really cool. And you actually get to talk to people who actually work there and work on the watches and run the company, which I think is really cool. So I will see you guys on the next video. Let me know what you think. Definitely throw me a like if you enjoyed this video, as usual. Definitely subscribe to the channel. You can also read the full article on www.watchaddictchannel.com on the Marine Classic 40. And I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you so much for tuning in. Bye.